What's up, guys? This is my UFC Fight Night Glasgow prediction video. So let's get started with Roundtree versus Paul Craig. This is going to be a really fun fight. Both are prospects in this division, and we need prospects in this division because a lot of old fighters. You have Roundtree, who's pretty much a striker with tremendous knockout power, very vicious on the feet. His hands are really good, and his light kicks are really effective. He's really good at countering, especially with the right hand, and his takedown defense is getting a little bit better, which he's going to need in this fight because Paul Craig is amazing on the ground. Very long fighter. Uses his length really well on the ground, especially on his back, and his takedowns are pretty good as well. He's a bit awkward on the feet, sometimes defenseless. He has to work more on his striking defense in this fight and his takedown offense because Khalil is a powerhouse. So in this fight, I'm going to go with Roundtree. I'm going to go by a first round knockout. How I see this fight going is I see Khalil being very tentative, but looking to counter and look for openings. I don't see him rushing in too much and giving the opportunity for Paul to tie up and take him down. And then we go to Stevie Ray versus Paul Felder. This should be a fun fight. Stevie Ray, a bit more well-rounded of a fighter. Doesn't look for the finish too much, although he's really technical on the feet and on the ground. His last fight beat Joe Lozon, which is a pretty good showing, especially on the feet. I mean, he had some trouble on the ground in the takedowns of Joe, but he was able to pull through that. And he's fighting Paul Felder, who's more of a striker. He doesn't really look for the takedowns. Muay Thai style fighter, but he likes to throw a lot of spinning techniques. He's very dynamic, and he has very powerful strikes. It's a tough fight to call. This might be the toughest fight to call in the whole card, but I'm going to go with Paul Felder. I think Paul Felder is going to be able to keep it standing, and if he can keep it standing, Stevie Ray is going to be in a lot of trouble. Stevie's advantage here is going to be on the ground, and if he can do that and control Paul Felder, he can win a decision. But I see Paul winning by a decision, keeping it on the feet, catching Ray with kicks and outside striking. Then we go to the co-main event, Joe Calderwood versus Cynthia Calvillo. This is an interesting fight. This or the Stevie Ray versus Paul Felder fight is going to be the most competitive fight. Joanne Calderwood is a Muay Thai fighter. She takes a Muay Thai stance, doesn't use footwork too much, likes to throw kicks a lot, spinning techniques. Her knees are devastating. She's really strong in the clinch. Although if you were to say any of her weaknesses are, her weakness has been her takedown defense, and with fighters that pressure her, which she's going to need to work on in this fight because Cynthia Calvillo is a grappler, wants to fight on the ground. Her striking is not really too great. I see Calderwood having a huge advantage on the feet, but Cynthia is going to close that distance and get it to the ground because on the ground, she is one of the slickest fighters out of female fighters in the UFC right now. In her last fight, the way she took Gonzalez's back was amazing. I've never seen it before. You have to be so flexible, so slick on the ground to do that, and technical. Her submissions are really dangerous. She's really hard to control on the ground, and she's always moving around, transitioning. So in this fight, I'm going to go with Cynthia Calvillo. I think she's going to get the takedown. I don't think Joanne's going to stop her. If she can't stop her from taking her down, closing the distance, and getting double legs or single legs, or dragging her to the ground, the fight's going to be pretty much over because I think there's a huge difference in skill on the ground as well as on the feet in Joanne's favor. So I'm going to go with Cynthia Calvillo, and I'm going to go by a first or second round submission. Then we go to the main event, Gunnar Nelson versus Santiago Ponzinibbio. I am really excited about this fight. Both these fighters really bring it, and both have very different personalities. Gunnar Nelson's more of the calm, relaxed fighter who is also very dangerous. He's like an assassin out there, where Ponzinibbio is this berserker. I mean, this guy, he fights like he's angry. He fights to knock you out. He wants to like bulldoze his opponents. So this is going to be really fun, and they're both finishers. You have Gunnar Nelson who takes a karate BJJ style of fighting. His stand-up is almost completely karate. Very wide stance, fights very long. Longer than what he is. I mean, he's not too big of a welterweight, but he makes himself seem as that. He moves in and out. His footwork is amazing. But on the ground, he might even be more dangerous. He's an amazing BJJ fighter, really good at transitioning and getting submissions out of every position. And one of the biggest attributes of Gunnar Nelson is his balance on the ground and on the feet. He's really hard to move, even though he's a bit smaller than his opponents. He's very hard to move around. And he's fighting Santiago Ponzinibbio, who's a striker. He wants to keep this fight standing, does not want to go on the ground at all. He has real knockout power, especially in his hands. Pretty good boxer, and he's very pressuring. It's going to be interesting who's going to get the advantage in the pressure and aggressiveness on the feet, because Gunnar also likes to be aggressive as well, but he's more stalking, whereas Ponzinibbio wants to go in on you and overwhelm you. He's really good with kicks, especially leg kicks, which could play a factor in this fight. He's very dynamic, very quick, But in this fight, I'm going to go with Gunnar Nelson. I'm going to go with Gunnar Nelson by a 3rd round TKO. I do see Santiago actually giving him problems. And I can see Santiago actually surprising people and how much problems he gives them early on. I think Gunnar Nelson is going to be a little bit overwhelmed in the beginning, but I think he's going to be able to pick it up, take him down, try to control him, and then I think later on, as Santiago starts to gas out a little bit, I do see Gunnar Nelson catching him and finishing him. So that's the video, guys. That's my prediction. I hope you guys enjoy the video, and if you do, make sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you enjoy my content, make sure to subscribe, and comment below what your guys' predictions are, if you agree or disagree. So again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.